was, remember going to Penn State, and we had a very good team, and losing to an 0-13 team, like what happened last night. So that's the beauty of the game. I think that's why we love it all so much, is this race is far from over with so many different teams. And with whether it was Penn State beating Iowa, and or our great win over Purdue, or the way we played against Ohio State, expect the unexpected. And as a result, this was good. This was a good little break for us. It's the first time we have not had, we've had more than 2 or 3 days for an opponent in almost 2 months. And so I'm sorry, in 5 weeks, I think. So it's good to have, our kids had a day and a half really where we could just let them rest. Forbidden to go to the gym yesterday, Duncan Robinson and a few other guys forbidden to go get extra shots, stay off your feet, and let's get ready for this next run that we have. Because we got really tough games approaching us in these Final Four, 2 home, 2 away, and it's going to be quite a challenge. So we plan on having a good 2-hour and 5-minute practice today, where we'll get back to something we haven't been able to do in the last really several weeks, is just skill development, shooting, skill development, defensive development, post defense, etc. So let's see where it goes. Maryland's obviously will not be happy. They're be very motivated. You remember last time they came in here after winning at Wisconsin at the buzzer, and this time losing to Minnesota. It makes teams really get themselves really ready for that next game. I know it does with us.
Chris, you want to start us off?
I think, did the ESPN sideline reporter say that you said that Karras would be only a role player going forward at this point? Was that misunderstood?
No, I never said that.
Okay, all right. Somebody had mentioned that. Do you have an update on his status?
Yeah, I believe, and please print my words carefully here, right? That we believe he had a temporary. We hope he had a temporary setback in that Purdue game, and that we're very optimistic that he will return. But there'll be a time pretty soon where may just have to shut it down as well. So, but we don't know. And that's the way this has gone for a while, and it's not his fault, it's not our fault. It is tough to predict health and the science of health and the rehab of health. And so that's what it is. But he's in slighter pain every day. Unless there's a miracle, we're going to plan on him not practicing or playing against Maryland. But tomorrow he could feel really good, but we're not putting him out there or he's still in pain.
You mentioned that maybe fatigue had something to do with, I think it was after the last game. Are you sensing tired legs on this team?
That they've been playing a lot of minutes, right? But that's part of college basketball right now. We got to fight through those things, and there's not a lot. There's a lot of, look at Maryland, has got 6 or 7 guys out there last night. Duke played 6 or 7 guys the other day. There's a lot of teams that don't have their young guys haven't developed enough yet, or they've had attrition, and so as a result, they're trying to win a game. I heard Phil Martelli say the other day when his point guard went 40 minutes, why do you only play 40? And they said, why do you play 40? He says, because it didn't go into overtime, and he would have played 45. It's just, that's that time of the year sometimes where you got to do that, do whatever you can to win, because everybody's trying to win a championship or get to the NCAA tournament.
Brendan?
So I guess with that status of Karras, in that instance, do you go into your planning purposes for these next couple of weeks, kind of assuming that you have what you have?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then adjust.
Sure. And
then adjust. We were getting to that point where we were ready to go, and then just feel bad for the kid. He's had. I mean, this is a kid who's a Player of the Year candidate 2 years in a row, and Tom and I just figured out his last 32 possible Big Ten games, he's missed 24, and I think we're like 500 overall, and if you add all those games together, slightly under 5. No, we're over 500. This is I think more about him than us or us. I mean, this is a kid that all the accolades that are going around the country. This is a kid who would deserve all those things.
How's he handling this then?
He is an extremely spiritual and faithful young man that is absolutely amazing how he handles it. Absolutely amazing.
And in light of you saying that there was a setback in the Purdue game, just to clarify, in that case, why have him, why do Monday's press conference and that stuff?
But because we don't know, all these things that happen, we don't know when they happen. We know that 5 days later it's still there, then something did happen. Was it just a tweak that the next day he's fine? You don't know, you can't predict these things. So when it still lingers 5 days later like it is today, now we say, okay, he must have done something. It wasn't just residual action. So that's, they say, how bad is the sprain? Well, he's still, sometimes the guy sprains an ankle, it's just a slight sprain. Well, he's out 3 weeks later, it was more than a slight sprain, but doctor, it's tough to predict those things.
You mentioned the possibility of shutting him down. Is that a conversation that you've had with him?
Yeah, we've been talking about that for a long time. When you get into the last couple of games, and you have what's at stake for him, you got to say, okay, this I got to advise him in the right ways right there. And so if he's not going to be at 100% and risk further injury, then that doesn't make a lot of sense. So we're trying to get him to 100%, and then we can make that decision.
So what has he said during those conversations in terms of, I guess, what's he thinking of?
I think it's ongoing right now. He'd like to play. He would love to play.
Lev?
Coach, just in terms of Maryland, I think last time when they were here, I think Trimble scored 2 points or something. What do you do defensively, assuming he's going to get his this time at home?
Well, he has been. They have been very, very good both on the road and home. They've got four road wins like we do. I mean, they've played really well on the road. But he's had games where he's probably hasn't played as well as he'd like to. And so he had a tough game here. He got in foul trouble early. I think that would be key. And we just got to do a great defensive job on him. Suleiman and Carter, right, and Diamond Stone, those guys are really playing well in addition to Melo. So there's a lot of people you got to stop. Lehman was very good here. So he's a tough guy to stop, and you got it. But it's not just a matter of stopping him. They got some other weapons.
Chris?
Well, obviously you don't like to foul and you don't want your teams to foul, but you got to play physical in the Big Ten. How do you resolve that? What's the fine line?
Well, like in the game in Columbus, they were in the one-on-one. They were about to be in the one-on-one with 15 minutes to go in the game, and a lot of them were just wrong place, wrong time, or some things confuse me sometimes, and I'm trying to work through that. But yeah, I mean, we are trying to do that as much as we can. Some of the things it's body type, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just as we try to grow as a team, we're getting more physically prepared. But we got to just improve. Our post defense right now is sometimes it was tremendous, against a really good post offensive team, Purdue, and then it was virtually non-existent down at Ohio State. So that's not always just the post guys. That's the gap coverage, the guys that could be assisting the post guys. So there's a lot to it. It's the same, it's like anything in basketball. One day you really be good in the ball screen, and the next day it's just one little angle that they're taking that tricks you. And so we got to continue to adjust to it.
Brendan?
In these couple days that you've had off, is anything you've been able to see or address in terms of getting the three-point shooting back to what it was, or generating better looks, or whatever it may be?
Yeah. You know what? As I looked at Dunk, I felt bad after the Ohio State game that I didn't think we got him good enough looks. But then I watched it over. He got the same looks that he hit the 5 against Maryland. It's just make a couple. It's just that's where it is right now. Make a couple, and you'll be fine. And that's exactly where it is, because he had some really good looks against Ohio State, and they went in and out again. They're not like off by a lot, and it's just a matter of maybe puts another bit of arch on the ball, something right now. But one thing I do know, he needs to rest his legs if he's going to be a good shooter, and he's meticulous about getting in there and making hundreds of shots every day. That can catch up with him.
We talked about fatigue after the game. They talked about being flat, not having intensity. Does that surprise you in that kind of environment? That they couldn't summon something adrenaline-wise or something?
Well, if they are fatigued, that's a precursor to being flat and not having intensity. I mean, when you're tired, it's hard to do that. And like they said, in the middle of a game, when your shot's not dropping, the crowd is cheering against you. The other team has, I think Ohio State, while they're young, they have some outstanding talent. And all of a sudden things aren't going, you'll just drop your head a little bit and not probably have the fire that if you were making shots. And that's what it comes down to. But I really respect my guys' opinions, and they're really good, but they're gonna basically say, word speak, they'll find out something, whether it's lack of toughness, whatever, sometime when they're speaking, to find an excuse. I don't try to find excuses. Some days, you just have a bad day.
It's not a larger concern.
Which
About
one?
about the team, that they could be flat in big situations.
If we had been flat, it would be a concern. If we had been flat when we went to play at Minnesota, if we'd been flat against Purdue, I'd say, okay, we got an issue here. We came out and we were tired, and they're a better team than us, right? They were a better team on that night. You don't explain it by flatness and lack of intensity. Sometimes it grows because you're not making shots. And I guarantee you, some guys on our team, if they make their first couple of shots, their defense is a whole lot better. And that's why they get flat, because the ball's not going in, and that's a youthful mistake.
Nick?
John, I know you said a couple times that you really haven't ever gone through these injuries, dating back to Mitch even.
Right.
That you haven't, in your 40 years, really ever
Right.
seen this, but this is now 3 years in a row where it's
Right.
happened. How has this changed you as a coach, would you say?
I don't know, I said it, I actually said it today. I mean, I'm talking 41 years now. 41 years, and I said, mentioned a great player, Darryl Barley, was out for the year at Canisius. And that was the only one I can recall until this would be, if Karras is out for the year, that's 5 and 4 years. So, I do not know. I don't think we practice any differently. I think we probably have more rehab, prehab, weight training, expertise. I can't explain it. I do know that our guys probably play year-round more than anybody. They're gym rats. Are they a victim of doing that too much? I don't know. I'm trying to find answers to it, and who knows whether it will ever come again. But this is really odd. It's not happening to other teams at this rate. 5 in 3 years. This is disproportionate. And then even put in Zach Irvin's. That Zach Irvin missed the whole summer. I mean, it's been disproportionate, and I don't know what to do about it. Just hopefully we're not talking about this next year at this time, Nick, because it's not fair. It's not fair to the kids either.
So have you considered backing off on them in the offseason? Is that something that's crossed your mind?
I don't have control over that,
Well,
obviously. Like I said, I had to mandate Duncan Robinson was not gonna make the trip to Maryland if I heard he was in the gym yesterday. Right? You stay home. If you wanna go to the gym, all right, go to the gym, but you're not going with us Saturday, because you need to take some time off your legs. So it's really hard when you get the reps up. So, the double summer school, a lot of them do, to stay here to train with John. Well, maybe that's too much. I don't know. I think it's different for everybody. It's a great question. It's one I don't know the answer to. But I just, my guys from Canisius would go home for the whole summer. I didn't even know we didn't have that type of resource for them to go to summer school. And it seemed like Richmond did the same thing. I don't remember having these injuries like we've had. So, but our guys weren't having cold tubs afterwards and masseuse and all these things coming in either that were supposed to prevent these type of things. So, the equipment is maybe lighter and faster and everything, but is it maybe as sturdy? I don't know.
With Maryland, you mentioned the recent struggles. What have you seen when you've watched their recent games, and especially when it comes to Melo?
I think it's not just them. It's just every team will go through these phases with the schedule of playing, home game, road game. You're cutting home in the middle of the week. People will just be off their game. And so, they haven't shot the ball well against Wisconsin, last night. They haven't shot the ball well at a couple different positions. Obviously, maybe Diamond Stone last night gets 5 offensive rebounds or 4 and puts them in, and we're not having this conversation. So teams go through it, and as we found out when we lost to Penn State a couple of years, it could be the best thing for some teams.
To that end about the big guys in Diamond Stone, it seemed like Mark and your big guys, especially Mark, learned from the Purdue game the first time and react and played them differently the second time. Do you feel that that's something that they
Yeah, hopefully. And we had to pick our poison in the Maryland game. I think we put more attention the first half on the big guys, and they got some walk-in threes the first time. We took our attention off that and said they're gonna beat us with 2s. And not till Suleiman hit those last couple threes. I think Lehman might have had one. And that might have been his zone defense. That, they got back in the game with a couple of shots there. But, and Mark, we could go into it, do it the first half and not do it the second half, try and get a feel for who's hot, what our foul situation is. There's a lot of variables in how we'll guard the postseason.
Learned.
Yeah.
Mark has learned.
Oh, yeah, I mean, but it's odd that you're gonna learn, every game is gonna be different. They may have a different way to get him open. Maybe he's back screening to get him open, or maybe he's down screening to get him open, or maybe they're screening for him. So there's a lot of things he's gotta continue to learn, and Ricky and Mo and DJ, everybody.